So it turns out that the best way to figure out whether Trump may have done anything illegal is just to let Trump talk. The former president took to Truth Social today in an attempt to lash out at Ron DeSantis, but instead of injuring DeSantis, he seems to have hurt himself. So here's the post. Bear with me because it's long, but you should listen until the end. He wrote, quote, "Now that midterms are over and a success, News Corp, which is Fox, the Wall Street Journal, and the no longer great New York Post, is all in for Governor Ron DeSanctimonious, an average Republican governor with great public relations who didn't have to close up his state, but did, unlike other Republican governors, whose overall numbers for a Republican were just average, middle of the pack, including COVID, and who has the advantage of sunshine, where people from badly run states up north would go no matter who the governor was, just like I did. Ron came to me in desperate shape in 2017. He was politically dead, losing in a landslide to a very good agriculture commissioner, Adam Putnam, who was loaded up with cash and great poll numbers. Ron had low approval, bad polls, and no money, but he said that if I would endorse him, he could win. I didn't know Adam, so I said, let's give it a shot, Ron. When I endorsed him, it was as though, to use a bad term, a nuclear weapon went off. Years later, they were the exact words that Adam Putnam used in describing Ron's endorsement. He said, I went from having it made with no competition to immediately getting absolutely clobbered after your endorsement. I then got Ron by the star of the Democratic Party, Andrew Gillum, who was later revealed to be a crackhead, by having 2 massive rallies with tens of thousands of people at each one. I also fixed his campaign, which had completely fallen apart. I was all in for Ron and he beat Gillum, but after the race, when votes were being stolen by the corrupt election process in Broward County, and Ron was going down 10,000 votes a day, along with now Senator Rick Scott, I sent in the FBI and the U.S. attorneys, and the ballot theft immediately ended, just prior to them running out of the votes necessary to win. I stopped his election from being stolen, and now Ron DeSanctimonious is playing games. The fake news asks him if he's going to run if President Trump runs, and he says, I'm only focused on the governor's race, I'm not looking into the future. Well, in terms of loyalty and class, that's really not the right answer. This is just like 2015 and 2016, a media assault collusion when Fox News fought me to the end until I won, and then they couldn't have been nicer or more supportive. The Wall Street Journal loved low-energy Jeb Bush and a succession of other people as they rapidly disappeared from sight, finally falling in line with me after I easily knocked them out, one by one. We're in exactly the same position now. They will keep coming after us, MAGA, but ultimately we will win, put America first, and make America great again. Now, I know that was a mouthful, but the part I want to focus on first is where he casually mentions that when Ron DeSantis' lead was disappearing by 10,000 votes a day, he sent in the FBI and U.S. attorneys and the, quote, ballot theft immediately ended. Now, I'll admit that figuring out what Donald Trump is trying to say isn't always obvious, but pretty sure this one is as black and white as it gets, wherein Trump admitted that he sent in federal officials to stop the counting of votes before Ron DeSantis could lose. Sounds like something that someone might want to, look into. And for those Republicans and Trump lackeys out there who say he just wanted to stop the stolen ballots from being counted, there are no stolen ballots. That is a thing of make-believe that Republicans say when they're not able to accept the fact that they've lost. No, there are no ballots from China, there are no bamboo ballots, there are no Hugo Chavez ballots. It is a last-ditch conspiracy theory cooked up by Republicans to explain away the truth to gullible supporters, which is that they didn't bother getting people to vote for them, and they don't want to accept that reality, so instead they're going to put on tinfoil hats and pretend that there's some grand conspiracy, when the truth is much more simple. They are just shitty candidates. Now, one likely outcome here, because there are 2 tiers of justice in this country, is that law enforcement will just chalk this up to the inane ramblings of a serial liar. But even though Trump lies, if he is going out there admitting to crimes, maybe we take them seriously. Maybe he attempted to send agents to Florida. Maybe those agents did go to Florida, but they were rebuffed. Or hell, maybe exactly what he says did happen actually happened, and federal agents interfered in the state's elections on behalf of a Republican. Either way, I'm of the mind that when a known criminal starts admitting to crimes, we should probably take them seriously. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again, just because Trump admits to his crimes in broad daylight doesn't make them less criminal. Just because he says that a criminal phone call is perfect on every news network doesn't mean that that phone call isn't criminal. Just because he repeats the big lie 1,000 times on national TV doesn't mean he still didn't incite an insurrection on January 6th as a result of that big lie. It doesn't need to happen in a dark, smoky room for it to be nefarious or illegal. Sometimes the perpetrator is too stupid to know that publishing it on the internet doesn't make it less criminal. So could it be a 5-alarm fire? Perhaps. Could it be Trump bullshitting so that he can try and take credit for DeSantis' win in Florida? Also perhaps. But the point here is that given who Trump is and his proclivity for being utterly incapable of not breaking the law, maybe we follow his lead and see where this takes us. Just, for starters. Now, besides the admission of guilt in interfering in Florida's gubernatorial election, it's also worth noting the extent to which Trump is absolutely melting down over the prospect of Ron DeSantis becoming the new darling of the Republican Party. The conservative ecosystem effectively laid the blame for the entirety of the GOP's poor midterm showing at Trump's feet, saying stuff like this on air.
What I can tell you is the biggest loser tonight is Donald Trump.
Donald Trump was the big loser.
This man is a loser.
He's the biggest loser in American politics.
The big losers are going to be Donald Trump.
Trump is not a national winner.
This is a resounding loss for him.
Well, not only is Donald Trump the loser, we already heard John Carl say that Donald Trump was the biggest loser of the night. Do you agree?
Oh, there's no question.
Trump was the biggest loser last night. I know he hates hearing that.
Biggest loser tonight. That's on Fox News Digital.
And if you're thinking, well, that's just the liberal media, might I introduce you to Kayleigh McEnany saying in no uncertain terms that while Trump should stay out of Georgia during this runoff period, Ron DeSantis should go into Georgia.
And that could go straight through the state of Georgia on December 6th.
Does that include Trump?
I think he needs to put it on pause. Absolutely. Look, he'll make that decision. He'll make his own decision. But
does he go to Georgia?
If I'm advising any contender, DeSantis, Trump, whomever, no one announces 2024 until we get through December 6th.
Do you see the former president a need for him to go to Georgia?
I think we've got to make strategic calculations. Governor DeSantis, I think he should be welcome to the state given what happened last night. You got to look at the realities on the ground. And Herschel Walker, we've got to win the Senate. That's it, guys. Got to win the Senate.
And it wasn't just Kayleigh McEnany who dumped cold water on any potential Trump appearance. Stephen Miller, Trump's former advisor, said, quote, "Everything over this next month is about Herschel Walker and making sure we get the win there. I'm advising the president to hold off until after the Georgia race, after Herschel Walker. Priorities A, B, and C need to be about Herschel right now. This is bigger than anything else in the country. We got to show the focus is on Georgia." Now, of course, we all know that if Trump was actually as popular as he thinks he is, this wouldn't hurt Herschel Walker's chances. But he's not popular, and so that's why Miller is advising him to stay quiet. New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu called a possible Trump appearance a terrible idea and said, quote, "My sense is the former president needs better advisors if that's really what his strategy is going to be." So for a guy like Trump, whose entire being is predicated on total loyalty and total control, to hear that from the entire political spectrum, from right to left, is enough to leave him completely unhinged. Probably to the point where he starts admitting to crimes that no one even suspected he'd committed. What this all shows is a continuation of exactly the same problems that were obvious with Trump after the 2020 election, that he is incapable of relinquishing power. He wasn't willing to do it after losing in 2020 when he was president, and he's not willing to do it now, while he's still the presumptive 2024 Republican nominee for president. And just like he was willing to use every lever of government available to him to prevent Joe Biden from taking his rightful position, he will go full scorched earth to prevent Ron DeSantis from replacing him atop the GOP. The difference is that while an insurrection is bad for democracy and bad for America, watching Trump and DeSantis shred each other to pieces might actually be a good thing. In the meantime, just know this. All those voters out there who showed up big for Democrats these midterms because you felt that the Republican Party was too extreme, too crazy, too dangerous, too unhinged, it is moments like this, just 2 days after midterms, that you're probably feeling completely validated. Because the lunacy on the right very clearly isn't going away anytime soon. Before you go, if you enjoyed this video and want to see more, please make sure to subscribe to my channel. You can click the thumbnail right here on this screen. And if you want to support my work even further, the best way is to subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen. There you can check out my interviews with major players in the world of politics, including President Biden, Vice President Kamala Harris, Pete Buttigieg, Elizabeth Warren, Katie Porter, Jamie Raskin, and so many more. Plus other interviews that live exclusively on the podcast. That link is also right here on this screen, or just search No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen wherever you listen to podcasts.